He has left before or been left or both. Because when two people are burning at full intensity and the distance between them grows too wide, it is never entirely clear who left first. He has signed the papers twice for the same woman. He has packed whatever it is that men like him pack when a life divides. Not clothes, not furniture, but the particular invisible weight of a shared history that no longer has a home. He has done this, and he has survived it, and then he has reached again, because that is what he does. But here is what nobody has ever asked. Not the journalists, not the biographers, not the people who have spent years analyzing his choices and his patterns and his public and private failures. Nobody has ever asked the right question. Not why does he leave, but what would make him stay? What kind of woman? What specific, rare, entirely particular kind of woman could Elon Musk look at and think, not this time. This time I am not going anywhere. This time the reaching is over. Because I have found the thing I was reaching for. That question, that answer is what we are here for today. And when you hear it, when you understand what that kind of woman actually looks like, what she is actually made of, how she actually moves through the world, I promise you this. You will not be thinking about Elon Musk. You will be thinking about yourself, and whether you are becoming her, or whether you are waiting for her, and what either of those things is costing you. Stay with me. Before I describe her, I need to tell you something important. She is not who you think she is. The world has a very specific image of the woman who ends up beside an extraordinary man. Beautiful, yes, almost certainly. Intelligent, of course. Accomplished in some adjacent field that makes her impressive without being threatening. Warm enough to smooth his edges, flexible enough to accommodate his schedule, devoted enough to make him feel chosen, patient enough to absorb the collateral damage of a life lived at his particular altitude. The world has this image, and the image is almost entirely wrong, because the woman Elon Musk will never leave is not a woman who has arranged herself to fit beside him. She is a woman who was already complete before he arrived, and that distinction, that single enormous, frequently misunderstood distinction, is everything. Go back one more time to the boy, because you cannot understand what this man will never leave until you understand what the boy never had. Pretoria, South Africa. A house that is large enough from the outside, and inside it a particular kind of emotional climate that leaves a child with a question so deep, so quiet, so woven into the fabric of how they understand themselves that they spend decades answering it without knowing that is what they are doing. His father was not a safe person, not in the ways the world easily names and condemns, in the quieter ways, the ways that teach a child, not through a single dramatic event, but through 1,000 accumulated moments of holding and criticism and conditional warmth, that love is something you earn, that safety is something you perform your way into, that the people who are supposed to simply, unconditionally, irrevocably love you might stop at any moment, for any reason, or for no reason at all. And that terror, that bone-deep, early, invisible terror of abandonment, becomes the engine, not just of his ambition, of his entire pattern with love. Because a child who grows up afraid of being left, who learns that love is conditional and can be withdrawn, does one of two things as an adult. They either close completely, build walls so high and so thick that no one can get close enough to leave, or they keep reaching, keep choosing vulnerability despite the cost, keep falling in love in the full, undefended, terrifying way of someone who knows exactly how much it can hurt and chooses it anyway. Because the alternative, living behind the walls, safe and closed and quietly certain that the distance is protecting them, feels like a worse kind of death than the risk. Elon Musk chose the reaching every time, and that choice, that repeated, expensive, publicly humiliating choice, has been slowly, faithfully, over decades writing the answer to one question. What does the woman who makes him stop reaching look like? She is not impressed by him. I need you to sit with that for a moment because it sounds simple. It is not simple. The world is full of people who perform not being impressed by Elon Musk. People who practice a careful, calibrated nonchalance, designed to communicate that they are the kind of person who is not easily awed. That is not what I mean. I mean genuinely, organically, completely not needing him to be extraordinary in order to find him interesting. She is interested in the person, not the portfolio. She would be equally curious about him if he were a brilliant, difficult, emotionally complex man with $100 to his name and a mind that would not stop. Because what she finds compelling is not the achievement. It is the mind. The particular, restless, insatiable, never quite satisfied mind that drives the achievement. She finds that interesting without needing it to come with a fortune attached. And that quality, that authentic unperformative indifference to the impressive surface, is the first thing that makes her the kind of woman he will never leave because he has had admiration. He has had more admiration than any one person should have to absorb. And admiration, he has learned, is the loneliest thing in the world. Because admiration is directed at a version of you that is not entirely you. It is directed at the output, the results, the achievement. And when you are surrounded by people who love your output, who light up when you succeed and dim when you struggle, you are in the most fundamental sense completely alone. Because the real you, the one who is not always succeeding, who is sometimes failing and sometimes terrified, and sometimes just a man sitting in an office at midnight, wondering if any of it is actually working, that person has no one. She is the person who wants that one, not the other one. That is the first thing. The second thing, she does not need him to be different. Not the way people mean when they say they accept someone, which usually means they have compiled a private list of everything they are tolerating, while hoping it gradually changes. She actually genuinely does not need him to be different. She has looked at him clearly without the distortion of infatuation or need, or the particular way we see people when we are hoping they will complete something in us. She has looked at him clearly, and she has seen this. A man whose mind does not stop, who will be thinking about something else at dinner, who will cancel and reschedule, and sometimes simply disappear into a problem for 72 hours without surfacing, who processes pain through motion rather than expression, who loves intensely and shows it imperfectly, who is by the admission of the people who know him best extraordinarily difficult to live with. She has seen all of that, and she has made a decision that is rarer than it sounds. She has decided that these are not problems to solve. They are not flaws to fix. They are not temporary conditions that will improve once the right relationship brings out his better nature. They are simply him, the same him that puts rockets in space, the same him that refuses to accept the world as it is, the same him that has spent his entire life burning at a frequency that most people cannot sustain, and has the extraordinary, costly, completely real life to show for it. She has looked at all of it, and she has said not to him, not yet, but to herself in the quiet where the truest decisions are always made. Yes, this person as he actually is. Not as I would design him, as he actually is. That is the second thing, and it is the thing that most relationships never quite manage because most people love a version, a potential, a person they are hoping will emerge from the person they are with, and they spend years in the slow, heartbreaking realization that the person they are with is not going to become the person they were hoping for. She does not make that mistake. She sees him, the actual him, and she chooses that. The third thing, she has her own life. Not a substitute life, not a life constructed around the edges of his to fill the gaps. Her own full, independently meaningful, genuinely purposeful life. Work that matters to her. Not because of what it looks like to the world, because of what it feels like to her to do it. Friendships that are real, the kind where people know the actual version of her, not the curated one. A relationship with herself that is honest. An interior life that she has actually tended to, not avoided through busyness, not managed through performance, but genuinely, consistently tended to the way you tend to something you care about. She is not available to be completed by him, not because she is closed, because she is already whole. And wholeness, real unsentimental, genuinely achieved wholeness, is the most attractive thing in the world to a person like Elon Musk. Not because it is a strategy, because it is the only thing that does not eventually bore him. Everything else, the performance, the accommodation, the love that is really need-wearing love's clothing, eventually becomes visible for what it is. Eventually, he sees through to the emptiness underneath the performance. And emptiness to a mind like his is not a problem to solve. It is a reason to move, but wholeness, real-lived, hard-won, completely authentic wholeness, that is inexhaustible. That is the thing that gets more interesting the closer you look. That is the thing that keeps revealing new depths the longer you stay. That is the thing that makes leaving not just costly, but genuinely unthinkable, because you cannot replace wholeness. You can find someone else to perform love for you. You cannot find another person who is already complete, who does not need you to be anything other than what you are, who adds to your life rather than requiring you to subtract from yourself. Maintain. That person, that whole independent, genuinely present person, is the kind of woman Elon Musk will never leave. The fourth thing, she tells him the truth. Not cry, not competitively, not with the agenda of diminishing him, or proving a point, or winning an argument, but clearly, consistently, without flinching. When he is wrong, she says so. When he is disappearing into his own certainty, at the expense of the people around him, she names it. When the brilliant idea has a flaw that his investment in it will not let him see, she sees it, and she says it not to undermine him, because she respects him enough to believe he can handle the truth. Because she understands that a man surrounded by people who only ever tell him what he wants to hear is a man being slowly, consensually destroyed, and she loves him too much to participate in that. This is not comfortable. She is not comfortable in the specific way that women are culturally trained to be comfortable, available, agreeable, unchallenging. She is challenging deliberately because she has understood something that takes most people decades to learn, that the people who make us better are never the ones who make us comfortable. Comfort is easy to find, truth is rare, and a person who will tell you the truth, who will look at you with clear eyes and genuine love, and say the thing that nobody else in the room is willing to say, that person is worth more than anything else in the world. That person is the person you do not leave, because leaving them means returning to a world of comfortable lies. And once you have tasted the truth from someone who loves you, the comfortable lies are unbearable. The fifth thing, she stays. Not out of obligation, not out of the weight of shared history or financial entanglement, or the fear of starting over at an age when starting over feels riskier than it once did. She stays because she wants to, because she wakes up every morning and makes the choice. Not the dramatic once, and for all choice that wedding ceremonies perform. The quiet, daily, unglamorous choice of a person who has decided that this life with this person is the life they are choosing today again, despite everything, because everything is part of it. The brilliant and the broken, and the infuriating, and the extraordinary, and the completely ordinary. Saturday mornings that nobody photographs and nobody celebrates, all of it, she chooses all of it, every day. And here is what that daily choosing does to a person like Elon Musk. It answers the question, the one that was planted in him before he was old enough to know it was a question. The one that has been running underneath everything since a boy in Toria learned that love could be withdrawn. Am I worth staying for? Not for what I build, not for what I achieve, not for the name or the money or the vision, just me. Am I worth it? And every morning that she chooses, every ordinary, unannounced, completely real choosing, she answers, yes, you are worth it. Not because you are perfect, because you are real, and real is enough. Real is more than enough. Real is everything. That answer, that daily, quiet, completely human answer is what changes him, Not the grand gesture, not the dramatic declaration. The staying, simple, consistent, unshakable. The staying, now I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest, not with me, with yourself. Are you her? Are you already, or are you becoming the kind of woman I have just described? The one who does not need him to be impressive. The one who sees him clearly and chooses him anyway. The one who has her own whole, independent, genuinely meaningful life. The one who tells the truth. The one who stays not out of fear or habit, or the terrible inertia of not knowing what else to do, but because she wants to. Because she has looked at this person, this complicated, difficult, sometimes maddening, occasionally brilliant, fundamentally real person, and decided, yes, this one, I am choosing this one. If you are not her yet, if some part of what I described felt like an aspiration rather than a description, I want you to hear this clearly. You do not need to be her completely before you begin. You do not need to be finished becoming before you start living. You just need to be honest about the distance between who you are and who you are becoming, and then begin closing it. Not for him, not for any man, for yourself. Because the woman I described, complete, honest, cleared, whole, present, unafraid of truth, and unafraid of love in equal measure. That woman is not just the kind of woman Elon Musk will never leave. She is the kind of woman who never has to wonder if she is enough because she already knows. She built that knowing. One honest choice at a time. One day of choosing her own wholeness over someone else's comfort. One moment of telling the truth when the lie would have been easier. One morning of staying, not out of obligation, but out of genuine, cleared, completely real choice. She built it, and you can't. Too, let me tell you what I believe is true. Not about Elon Musk, about love, about the kind of love that lasts. Not because two people were lucky enough to find each other, because two people were whole enough to deserve each other. The lasting loves, the ones that survive the ordinary days and the catastrophic ones, the ones that hold under pressure and grow under pressure and become more themselves over time rather than less. Those loves are not found. They are built by two people who have done the unglamorous, uninimable, deeply private work of becoming themselves completely without apology, without the performance of having it together when you do not, without the exhausting relationship-killing effort of being something other than who you actually are. The lasting loves are built by real people who show up real, who stay real, who choose real over comfortable every single time, and who understand at the bone level, not just the intellectual one, that being real is not risk, it is the only safety there is, because everything else, every performance, every managed impression, every carefully constructed version of yourself designed to be more lovable can be seen through eventually, always, but your actual self, your honest, complicated, still becoming, completely real self cannot be replaced, cannot be replicated, cannot be found somewhere else after you are gone. That is what makes you irreplaceable. Not your beauty or your accomplishments or your carefully curated qualities. Your realness, your specific, particular, completely unrepeatable realness. That is the thing worth staying for. That is the thing that makes leaving unthinkable. Elon Musk,